Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Gmo Show, up close and personal. Tonight's guest, Soundscape Recording Studio, Tim Smith. And now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Gmo! Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gmo Show. If you've seen the Gmo Show before, this is a different, new format. This is the Gmo Show up close and personal. Most of the time, I have the Gmo Show, and I have bands on. I interview them on a couch with my Gucci set behind me, and then the bands get up and they perform and do a couple songs, and then I edit it later on, put all kinds of graphics behind them, and throw them out there for everyone to see. Now, the Gmo Show up close and personal, I'm trying to educate future musicians and present musicians on what to and what not to do in the recording business, as far as lawyers, going out and playing in bars, going into a recording studio, getting an agent, or just whatever you need, taking pictures for the band. It's just helping you get some steps in, you know, where I've been there before, and I feel like sharing them with you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy what I'm presenting to you. And tonight, it's going to be all about recording. And my guest tonight is Tim Smith from Soundscape Studios. Hey, Tim.
Hey, Gmo. How's it going, brother?
It's going good, man. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Now, Tim has a recording studio and a school, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we got Soundscape Recording Studio and School for the Recording Arts. We've been in the building for 13 years. We've been licensed by the state of Michigan to teach recording, mixing, and mastering classes since 2009. We have a lot of students that have gone through the building. Some of them have gone on to do some pretty successful things.
Cool.
But for the most part, we have 3 classes that we teach. So we got a recording class,
Right.
which is 8 weeks. We have a mixing class, which is 8 weeks. And then we have the combination course, which is recording, mixing, and an introductory to mastering. That's a 16-week program. It's our most popular.
Wow.
And
okay.
this is the best part. The classes are one-on-one. So we have...
That makes a big difference.
Absolutely. We have 4 students per semester, 3 semesters a year, so we teach 12 students a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now when you say you're the one-on-one, as opposed to other schools don't do that one-on-one, they just kind of like run you through the mill or something like that?
Yeah, in other words, you could probably say that. I don't have a whole lot of experience. I did take classes at some other schools, and I did teach at one other school, very short-lived, and yeah, on average, you probably got about 10, 15, 20 people in a class.
Yeah. You know, one thing I thought, with the advent of digital, I didn't think that, you know, going to school was as important, or is it probably more important? Do you think it's more important with all the digital, or is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's just as important. I don't think that value has changed. I definitely think there's something to gain from taking some classes.
Right. I know I probably could.
In any of these fields, right? I mean, film and audio, I think there's something to gain
I'm
from
having
both.
fun in this end. This is really fun. I never thought I'd walk in front of the camera. I took the classes just to shoot videos for some people, and then I walked in front of the camera one day, and voila, there I was.
And there you are with your own show.
Yeah, so
right.
All right, let's get down to the nuts and bolts. Now, I'm in a band. I'm in a 4-piece band, and most bands are on budgets. And what would you suggest what is your opinion as far as when people come through your studio? I mean, should they record 1 song? Should they record 5 songs? Should they do a 10-hour block? Should they do 3-hour blocks? You know, because you know how it is.
Yeah, sure. You know, this is a great subject. Funny thing is, I just read an article about this that Bobby Ozinski posted. He's a leader in authorship of recording arts books and things of that nature. And he posted something recently that said it's a singles market. We're not into albums. People don't buy albums anymore.
It's true.
It's all about singles. So I think come in the studio, let's do 1 song. Let's put all your money behind that. Let's make 1 great song.
I was out in L.A. I learned that about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
They were already moving into that because, you know, L.A. is the capital of the recording industry.
Right.
But they were saying, you know, I sat down and said, I got 4 songs for you. He goes, I only want 1. I go, but I got 4. And he said, I only want 1. He goes, listen to me. I only want 1 song.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The attention span. People don't care. They can barely get through 1 song. Why give them a whole album?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And one song, one video, and because after that, once you get to that point, if you're liked and you're doing really well on your hits in YouTube and you're getting super popular or a record label wants you, they give you the budgets.
Right.
And they tell you what to do also.
And the funny thing is, if you really think about it and you do your research, this singles market that I'm talking about right now is nothing new. In fact, if you go back to the 50s and the 60s, it was a singles market.
Yeah, it was.
The record company signed an artist. They put out one song. They saw how it did. They got it on the radio. They created some momentum, and then they put the artist back in the studio if it was worth it.
Yeah.
And then we went through this whole period where people are making these 15-song records that are 2 hours long and all this crazy stuff. And now we're back to a singles market.
We're back to the one-hit wonder market.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it is like.
Yeah.
Do you know the actual reason why songs are 3 minutes 30?
No.
There's Dozier, Holland Dozier?
Yeah.
Lamont Dozier. I was in a bar.
Motown.
Yeah. I was in a bar, and this guy sits next to me. He's like, introduced me as Lamont Dozier, and he's looking at me, and I go, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. You're from Motown.
Yeah, right. He only wrote all the biggest hits. Yeah.
So after a while, getting drunk with him, he liked to drink straight scotch. It was fun. I said to him, he looks at me, he goes, you know why they have 3 minutes, 30 seconds? Songs, I said, attention span? He goes, no, if that was true, Pink Floyd wouldn't be around.
Right, yeah, exactly.
What it is when the 45s came out, when you went past 3 minutes, 30 seconds, every 15 seconds you went past it, the quality decreased 25%.
Absolutely.
Because the needle couldn't get in the groove.
That's right. The closer to the center of the record, the worse the quality got.
Yeah, thus the quarter on the needle.
Yeah. No kidding. That makes sense. That all makes sense for sure.
Now, what do you say about bands that want to come in and they think they can knock out 10 songs in 10 hours?
Not going to happen. You're lucky if you knock out one song in 10 hours.
Yeah.
Really. Here, let's put it this way. So what I do is when we're working with clients, we keep a log. And this is how I'm able to give bands a realistic quote. When a band calls me up and says, hey, we want to come in the studio, we want to do 10 songs, how long is it going to take? I've been able to narrow it down to about 15 hours a song, and that's pushing it.
Yeah.
So do the math. If it's 10 songs and it's 10 hours, there's 100 hours, and I'm saying it's not 10 hours a song, I'm saying it's 15 an hour. So do the math. We're at 150 hours to do a 10-song record. That's recording and mixing.
Then they pass out on the other end of the phone.
Then they hang up, of course.
Yeah, right? They hang up like that. Okay, it's like that.
Yeah, right.
So, what do you think is the most difficult when bands come in to record? Is it the drummers? Is because I know drummers don't want to use click tracks.
Yeah.
And the bass player is usually always the most cooperative. He just wants to lay down the bottom. But then you got your prima donnas, the singers.
Right. Most difficult, man, it varies with every band, but I'll say this. This is one thing I've learned. In every band, there's always that one musician in the band who is the one who's going to give you all the problems. There's the one guy who's super free, and he's like, you know what? I believe in you, man. Do your thing. You're the engineer. Yeah. And then there's the other person who's like, I don't really care, whatever. And then the other guy, he's all on your side. And then there's that one person always who's going to give you all the friction. They don't believe in you. They've got it. They know somebody else who runs a studio or whatever. So it varies. It's not always the bass player. It's not always the drummer. There's always one though.
Yeah. You and I were talking about how you got a bunch of new gear in the studio, which is really, really cool. I myself had just got the Big Mac with the Pro Tools and the Claret Pre. And that's basically, and the O2R,
Okay.
So it's a nice setup, but I wouldn't dare try mixing finished product, because I always end up with too much bass bumping around and then didn't know what I did.
Yeah.
And that's where my schooling could probably come in if I went to school.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So some of the new gear that we've got down at the studio, we're using some Cappy Pre's.
Okay.
These are the, they're very reminiscent of API consoles, some great stuff. So we got some Cappy gear. We've got some of the newer stuff that I'm really, really digging is the retro stay level compressors. These things are tube compressors. They're fantastic. They sound great on vocals. They sound great on bass. They sound great on pretty much everything.
What are you using for microphone, vocal micros?
Vocal mic, I've got a selection of mics. That's the thing. There's really no one particular mic where I would say, here's my vocal mic. Every singer that comes through, this is what you're going to use. Every voice sounds different, so of course it's a different mic every time.
Yep.
But my go-to is a U87 that's in the vocal room right now. When I left the studio, that's what was parked there. We've got some really cool stuff. I'm trying to think of this tube mic that we've been using, which is the CV12 Van Tone. It was used for Taylor Swift on one of her couple last records, so that's a popular tube mic.
Did you ever know Jim Lamonte?
That sounds very familiar. Yeah.
Jim was he's someone that I met through actually through Steve King, who Steve King is not of the Diddleys. Steve King worked on Eminem's records, which you knew Steve.
Yes, yep.
And he told me about the studio. I met him at the disc recording studio, and he told me about this guy's studio in the basement. And he says, you wouldn't believe his microphone collection. Well, long story short, you had to be invited in there. Yeah. And I got invited by Steve to go in there. And he had a Sony board, and this microphone collection was just to die for.
Wow.
And it's sad to say that he passed away before his time, and I think the Winans went in there and scooped them all up.
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, they're using it to sing in church, probably.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Steve, great guy. I'm not familiar with the other gentleman you spoke of, but if he was introduced to you by Steve, then I'm sure he was something special.
Oh, Steve was really cool. Yeah. Now we also have other people that we have in common. You knew Scott Santos from Overture Studios.
Yeah, Scott. I did. I still know Scott. I talk to Scott every now and again. Usually Facebook, that type of thing.
Okay.
But maybe a phone call here and there. He ran a very successful record company.
I loved his producing. He was fast. He was hot. He was flashy.
Amazing.
And he was really, really good.
One of the best engineers I've ever met. Personally.
He doesn't do that anymore.
Well, he still does. He's still making records. He's in Las Vegas.
Okay.
He's got a Neve console, I believe he bought from the UK, shipped over. I mean, he's got a pretty sweet setup studio. But he runs a magazine now, so that's really kind of what he did. He saw the demise of the record company kind of collapsing in front of him, and he saw what was on the forefront and the challenges that were going to be ahead of him. And he said, I'm just going to jump out now and go into this other field. And
the festival Meet-em, right?
Yeah,
Meet-em. I went to Meet-em 10 years ago.
Overseas.
It was overseas, and the reason why I went because I was going to go to South by Southwest, but it was cheaper to go overseas and to Cannes, France. I thought, hey, why not? And it was cheaper for the festival too.
Yeah.
So we went over there, and Rose got discovered by everybody. And now I lost what I was going to say.
So
about
she
that.
went with you.
She went with me. Yeah.
Was Scott there or something? Did you meet Scott or?
No, Scott wasn't there.
Okay.
But
well, we were talking about the magazine and jumping ship and moving from the challenges of the recording industry, and that's why Scott decided he was going to get out of the recording industry. So you went over to meet him.
Okay. So when I went over to meet him, they asked me if I wanted to write an article for their magazine, and honest to God, this is a while back. I wrote. This is when Napster was coming in.
So you're talking about Root Canal magazine. Are you talking about that magazine?
Yeah, Root Canal. Yeah. Okay. They asked me to, so I wrote a really great article, and I said, "Is the internet going to kill digital? Is going to kill the CDs?"
Yeah.
And they said, "We love it, but we're not going to run it."
Yeah, because they knew they knew that you were right, and
that's what everybody's there to do, is sell their CDs at Meet-em.
Yeah.
So, you ever been to Sound Suite where Anita Baker recorded?
Never been to Sound Suite. Honestly, I haven't been in too many of the studios around town.
But you've been in Studio 54. That was pretty cool.
I've been in Studio 54, mixed on the SSL in Web and also in Studio 54. It's two different studios. I've been in both of those. Beautiful, amazing studio. Lots of great people. In fact, Nick, Steve's son, is a good friend of mine. We do talk here.
Does he do engineering? Or?
He does. Yeah, he followed in his father's footsteps, so to speak, and he's engineering and making records too. Super cool guy. I haven't been in Sound Suite. There's a lot of great studios in Detroit that unfortunately I haven't had the time to go in. Why? Because I'm making records.
Right. I remember one time, just before Steve started working with Eminem, I was working on some dance music, and he was pretty much tutoring me because I thought I knew dance music, but he showed me I didn't.
Yeah, right.
I corrected that. Anyways, he says, you might want to book me next couple months, a lot. I said, why is that? He goes, I'm working with some guy named Eminem.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, really?
Yeah, who's this guy?
Little did we know. Oh, my God.
Little did we know that that was really the launch of his career, too. Oh, I'm sure he worked with a lot of other big artists. I mean, Romantics, we talked about that earlier.
Yep.
I know for a fact he did the last Romantics record, which was fantastic.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it, but it's so good. It was mixed at 54, or Webb, probably, same place, basically. But I think it was cut in New York. I don't know for sure. Had a lot of features on it. I think Johnny B. Badanjic might have even featured on it.
Right.
Tino might have even featured on it, but it was the last Romantics record, and it's very reminiscent of the early stuff.
Right.
Worth checking out. Great record.
The first stuff is like everything you heard that came out, it's the second you heard it, you knew it was infectious.
Absolutely,
It
and you knew
just-
who it was.
Yeah, you knew who it was, and it just grabbed you by. So that's why I try to tell people when you're cutting something, and you've been witness to this.
Yeah.
Like, what's the one thing when people are playing their music and they go, and it's done, and everybody's sitting there, and then the guy who's the singer will say, "You want to hear it again?" And he's got friends,
Yeah.
And his friends are like, "Yeah, sure." You don't got a hit. It's
Right.
when people are going like this, and you get to the song like, "Play it again."
Exactly.
Play it again. I've been in
Exactly.
the room when it's gone dead like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and I'm going to get a Coke,
Yeah, right. Or when people are walking out while you're playing it back.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
a sure sign that it's not, you're not there
It's
yet.
not happening. Yeah.
You're not there yet.
Yeah. So let's cut to some pictures here, and you can tell everybody what these pictures
Okay.
are. These are pictures of your studio.
It is, yeah, but these are actually, unfortunately, I didn't have any new stuff to any new photos to bring down, but these are some old photos. That's the live room, which it pretty much looks like that today. Control room has been updated quite a bit since then. We're looking at, that's a Detroit-made grand piano right there, made by Grinnell Brothers. It's a Detroit Leonard.
Oh, yeah. I remember the Grinnell.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Whoops.
they don't make pianos in Detroit anymore, and that's when they were making
They don't
them in
really
Detroit.
make. I have a beautiful, beautiful Tiger Wood Oak piano, and I don't think I could give it away.
Yeah,
So I'm keeping it. I'm just going to keep it in my room. It looks great.
that's like that. I'll never get rid of that. That's a Detroit custom drum kit. I was endorsed by Detroit Custom Drums at one point, and they built this kit for me. I ended up selling that to the singer from Stone Temple Pilots, Jeff Goot,
Really?
the new lead singer. That's a whole nother subject. What a great addition to Stone Temple Pilots for them. Vocal room is what we're looking at here. We've got live room, control room, vocal room. This is where we're at now. So we got three rooms you've seen so far.
No, I've got my mini recording studio at my house. Now, I didn't go as far with the foam. Does it really, really matter?
Well, it depends on the room. You need to tune the room. Not every room requires the same type of treatment. This particular room did because there was a lot of flutter in the
Right.
room. And
Flutter is what?
so we get like an echo that's a very quick echo that lasts long enough where you're going to hear it. So you're going to hear like it's almost like a slap that's like,
I know what you're saying.
you'll
Yeah,
hear,
that-
you'll
you're
hear
like, what is that?
a dozen of them in a row,
Mm.
and it's because of the flat surfaces. So we did need it in the control room
Ooh, gear.
or the vocal room. Yeah.
All you
So what do we got
gearheads
there?
out there, take a look at this.
Couple 1176s. That piece of gear right at the top, I'm using on a pretty heavy metal record right now from a band called Announce the Apocalypse.
Right.
Great record. That's a vocoder, analog vocoder on the top, the red one, made by Warp Factory Electrics. Amazing piece of gear. They've got this feature on there that's called Noise Mix, and you can kind of see it on there. It's called Noise Mix. Basically, what that does is it adds noise. That's all it does. But man, is it amazing! It sounds so cool.
I was in a rap set cutting. These guys were cutting their rap, and everybody's like, "It's good, but it's not muddy enough." And they're like muddied up the mix to make it sound more street.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
It surprised
I've heard
me.
it all now. Yeah. Let's make it worse.
Let's
That
make
sounds
it worse.
good.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
These are some photographs from class, teaching one of my students at the time, going through microphones and various things here. So
When you say it's 12 weeks, how many hours altogether?
well, this one's 16 weeks. It's 160 hours.
Oh,
State
wow.
licensed. It's endorsed by the state of Michigan. They stand behind the programs and the curriculum. We had to go through that whole spiel to get licensed. So we're not a university. So we can't take, we're not accredited. We can't take financial aid, unfortunately, but we're state licensed.
Right.
So you could maybe compare us to I hate to even throw it out there, but something like Specs Howard as far as like what you're going to walk away with.
Right.
It's not a university.
Now I got a question.
Sure.
What bands have you worked with that have kind of done really well?
Well, a couple of my favorite bands more recently would be After the Money Is Gone. Those guys are doing some cool stuff. You've probably heard of them around town, Atmig for short. They did a 7-inch record that was released by Third Man last year that was cut in my studio.
Third Man is
Jack White's label.
Correct.
Yep. So he released it.
Have you know Jack?
I've never met him personally, but Third Man Records is pretty cool. And so they released it on Third Man, and they're working on a full-length record right now. We're actually mixing it, so it's a pretty great record.
Cool.
Announce the Apocalypse is a new band that I'm working with. Which
I read your Facebook post, and my face just got melted.
Oh my God, this stuff is so hardcore. They were literally slated to be signed to Dave Mustaine, Megadeth's record label.
Okay.
So it's heavy.
Sure.
And so I'm working with all kinds of stuff: jazz one day, gospel, heavy metal, hip hop.
okay.
It doesn't matter to me. Some of the names I've worked with are like Big Sean to Tyga to Mike Posner.
When you work with Posner, say, and what is in your studio?
Yeah,
he came to your studio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When he came in, he's kind of a unique guy. He doesn't like to work with anybody.
That's what I heard.
He doesn't like to work with anybody. He doesn't like to be seen, even performing.
Wow.
So there's a reason why we have curtains in the vocal room now, and that was the beginning of that.
I have an interesting story. One time, I just got done giving total detail to this girl singer, and I'm saying, I was really particular. I drew it out, I wanted it. And then I went back in the booth, and she was sitting there singing, and she's looking at me, and the engineer rolled over my foot, and I gave this face.
Oh,
and she stopped. She goes, "What's that for?" And I'm like,
Yeah, right.
So that's why.
I bet that would ruin a take. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's like, oh, geez. So ever since then, I learned to sit down and hide kind of behind the boards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just don't be seen.
Yeah, that's what most engineers just don't be seen. Just sit back there and wave a hand, or we're ready on 3, 2, 1.
A lot of vocalists, they don't like to. You see in the movies where vocalists are out there in the live room and they're we don't do it like that, right? It's generally not like that. They're usually in a whole separate room, and it's not like they're standing there with
to hide.
Yeah,
because especially when you're doing some kind of like ballad or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they like you said, draw the curtains. Leave me alone.
Yep.
Put a camera if you want to see me.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of really cool bands come through the studio this past year, 2017. It's hard to believe it's 2018, and we've got some new stuff cooking for this year. I'm excited. We've got some new bands that recently made their reservations, if you will, to cut their record here at the studio. And then we've got new students and well,
you're doing something right. You've been around 13 years,
in that building. Yeah.
And we got a lot of time left, so.
Okay.
So, do you help write any of the songs?
Typically not. I guess it depends. That's a good question.
Or when people, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Oh, I was going to say, there's when generally I sit down with the artist before we ever even get together and work on a project together, and I let them know that it's their choice. There's many different hats that I can wear in the studio. I can be that guy that's just pushing the buttons. I can be the guy that's just capturing the audio, but I can also be the guy who's giving you opinions, and I can be the guy who's, doing a lot more than what you might, expect me to do. It just varies. Everybody's different. Some people want me to do a lot. Some people don't want me to do anything other than just sit there and capture the sound. So everybody's different. I wear whatever hat they're looking for me to wear that day. And it's always different.
And not getting us on the screen here. Were we coming up before or no?
I think we were, yeah.
We were. We're not coming up now. Oh, there we are.
There we go.
We're back.
So it just really depends on what the artist wants me to do. But for the most part, I think of myself as I'm gonna do something cliche, and I'm gonna mention Steve Albini. Steve Albini's one of my favorite engineers. He always says that he thinks of himself as a auto mechanic. You take your car to him, he services your car, and you leave. That's it.
A lot of people expect the studios, when I first went in the studios, they said they could help me. And hearing the words that you can be helped is misconstrued from an artist standpoint of view, because they think, oh my God, this guy's going to help me get it somewhere. And I've watched people spend up to $20,000
Oh, it's
in
ridiculous.
a studio and you know, and then walk away with just a CD finished, and they're pissed off at the engineer, they're pissed off at the producer, and like you say.
Yeah, that's something that I don't want to do. And I don't want to lead somebody to believe that you're going to get something out of this relationship more than... I'm not going to do what maybe you're going to have happen at some other studios. Let's put it that way. I'm going to be real with you. You come in here with talent, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you put together a great record, but it's on you. It really is on you.
Yeah, another thing, I was actually with Steve King before I hired him to produce for me. I kept asking him these questions. What do you think of this? What do you think? He says, you're asking me producing questions.
Yeah.
And he says, if I answer those questions, I will be producing your song.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to stop the session now.
And sign some paperwork.
Before I start, answering those questions. And it's true because, I mean, I've recorded a lot of people, and they start asking me questions, and I will say something, and it'll change the direction of their song.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny you say that. I've been in sessions where we've had attorneys, there prior, and they drop contracts. And if you're just sitting on the couch, if you're in that session, you had to sign off stating that if you go, hey, you know what, that sounds really good, but maybe use the word the instead of hey. Well, guess what? Now you're a co-writer, so you get a whole lot of money and you can sue. So they make everybody sign paperwork basically saying, if I say, hey, let's change this word,
you don't get nothing.
I don't get anything. End of story.
Like that song, I get knocked out, I get knocked out, I get up again. Right. The girl was sitting there, from what I heard, she was sitting there and she said, you need something else.
Yeah. And
then she just said, pissing the night away, and it got on there.
Wow.
She just threw it at him, and they said, oh my God, that's it, that's it.
That's amazing.
What's really cool is sometimes this, that you'll put a sound in a song, and you don't hear it. You really don't notice it, but take it out. And
it's a world of difference.
It's like...
Yeah.
It's I guess compared to taking a collar off of an animal.
Right.
When it's on it, you don't notice it. When it's off, you're like, oh, where's your collar?
Yeah. Right. It's true. I never thought about it like that, but you're right. That's that definitely. Sometimes it's those little things that make everything. It seals the deal. It makes it sound that way.
Yeah, I've heard just like on that Dua Lipa song. I've been driving my crazy. It's not a tambourine, and it's not the little finger things,
symbols,
but it's something. It's a combination of them all. But then they took it out, and it was gone. It was like, whoa,
right.
Yeah,
right. Well, sometimes it's like snare sounds. It's about creating personality. One time I was working with a reggae band, and we decided we were gonna mess with some things, so we brought in a sample of a bullwhip, right?
Okay,
and we threw that on every other snare hit.
Okay.
Oh my God, it sounded amazing, and then we didn't make it so audible that you knew what it was.
Right.
Right. We just enough, and then after we heard it for a while, we took it out because we thought, maybe that's cheesy, so we take it out. We're like, no, man,
and
that's
it's missing
everything.
It was giving it that master stroke.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you'll hear on hand claps, you'll hear the first hand clap is dry, and then the second one's wet with reverb, and then the third one might echo.
Yeah,
and that's really that's such an art producing.
It is.
And doing what you do as engineering is fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah.
So you can look at the camera and give your website. And
sure. Which camera am I looking at?
I think you're looking over my shoulder there.
So soundscapestudio.com, or you can go to michiganrecordingschool.com. Either or. Michigan Recording School is probably a little bit easier to remember. If you go to michiganrecordingschool.com, you can also find the studio.
Okay.
Remember, we're doing recording, mixing, and mastering, and we also offer state licensed recording and mixing arts classes.
Awesome. And you're located on...
We're located
just above 13 Mile on Rochester Road.
About a half a block north of 13 on Rochester Road.
Okay.
And you can't miss it. They're doing a bunch of new building over there, a bunch of new condos, a new plaza. We are right down the street from the Gilda House.
I know where it's at.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, Tim, thanks so much for coming on the GMO Show Up
Thank
Close
you,
and Personal.
Gmo. Appreciate it.
I hope this answers some questions to you out there who thinks they're going to record some stuff. If not, get a hold of Tim at Soundscape Studios or get a hold of the GMO Show. Thanks a lot for watching the GMO Show Up Close and Personal. Good night.